Hello! I'll be here soon. Don't worry about it. I got distracted by new rules. I'm here. Hi. Hello, everyone. Wait a minute. I just need to fix something. And there we go. And I should be here. Oh, that's the wrong one. Clicked the wrong button. I'm all over the place. Why am I so big? Oh! Hi, Anthony. Hi, Denison of Mystery. Hi, Blair Boris. I'm a bit... Yeah, I got a bit of an ego today. I got a bit of an ego. I'm all big-headed. I'll fix this. I'll fix it. Just give me a moment. Bonk. There we go. Hi. Giant goober. I'm no longer big-headed. You hurt me. Oh, you won the jackpot! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, drinking cola. Where's my gloves? Glovey gloves. There they are. Oh, but have you seen today new rules? I didn't update that. No, don't tell me to put that up. I just got turned into the Chibi. By the way, new rules are out for Warhammer stuff. New 40k. Oh, look at this. Behind the scenes of the Space Marines. Intercessors. Oh. Wait. Kind of a named hero for 10. There's a little Easter egg.
Wow, Eternal. How do you have so many sprinkles? Every time Capcom is late I make 5,000 sprinkles gamba. Dear God.
That's because you come to a lot of streams. And it's not about being late. You make loads of gambas. You make loads of gambas. Transition to banana. No! No! I dropped this down. Okay. So that's me looking for infundable saves because I thought I misread the rules at one point. By the way, rumours that we're getting rid of the first. So there's new rules. 11th edition core rules are up. You can find them on the website. Behind the scenes. Yeah, you can check out that. New rules. All you have to do, go to the Warhammer website, go to downloads, Warhammer 40k. If when you go to the website you instead got the store, all you need to do is go to the top here where it says community, click here, go to downloads, 40k, core rules. Alternatively, you don't even need to go to downloads, you can just click on this article and it will give you the rules. Well, the rules. Also, yeah, people were saying firstborn vehicles are going to go away. And considering that they're in the photos of a rule book, yeah, I don't think so. They've got like 3 storm ravens here. They've got a rhino here, which was a big one. People are saying it's going away. They've got a vindicator, a predator, and a, I mean, that is the bar. No, it's just a normal predator, not the bar predator. And a whirlwind. All of those are images in the rule book, so that suggests that maybe they're not going to go to Legends. Look, you can't lose audio movement by just spinning right round, baby, right round, like a record player, right round, right round. Yes, you can. No, you can't. You don't lose your movement by rotating anymore. I've not read through the entire rules. I was trying to before the stream, but I'm not that quick of a reader. And I was also sharing insights on the Discord. But let's say, I was also trying to judge each of these, trying to see what units in the images, because that feels like, can we find the ATV in here? I can't see the ATV. It's like, no, not the ATV. That is though for the lieutenant, sorry, with combi weapon. The one for Villa 5 and box, which is pretty cool. So that one's definitely not going to Legends yet. Can't see if other lieutenants come in Phobos armor though, so you know. But yeah, how have the rules changed? At the moment, most of what's in here I've read so far, they did talk about anyway. The biggest thing that I don't think we've talked about at the moment is... Oh yeah, people have been looking at this and saying, no, the boys are gone. It's like, no. If not, give me a moment. Do we actually still have the old car rules here? Yeah, you got the old car rules here. Let's see what the example rules were like. Let's see if there's any images here of something that went into... No, nothing went into Legends. That's over here. Let's see if we can find... Did they show like any of the data sheets over in the old rules? They didn't. Yeah, I just want to see if they're showing data sheets in here. No. But yeah, people are looking at... Yeah, people are looking at this thing. And they're like, oh my goodness. The Arc Boys have been rude. They can't be taken in squads of 20 anymore. There's no Power Claw. There's no rockets. These are just the example rules, probably from the Combat Patrol. That's going to go with a new box. So don't take these for what the Arc Boys will become. These are just the Combat Patrol rules for them. And maybe they will reduce the Arc Boys no longer having 20, but I hope not. But yeah, new rules. That's important. So first we talk about moving unit. Rotating a model. Each time you rotate a model, you move it around the center of its base. If it doesn't have a base, you just move it around the center of the model. It does not take up any distance anymore. For instance, 3 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches, 3 inches moving. This thing can rotate, move, rotate, move. In fact, I think with this one, it's done a full 360 basically, hasn't it? Oh no, it's not. It's done. It's only gone from facing that direction to down. Never mind. But yeah, you can spin around as much as you like now. I mean, it's not that spinning around usually matters too much. The only things that ever mattered to are vehicles trying to fit through a gap and things like knights or anything with an oval base. That's the only time it mattered. With any other unit, you'll be like, okay, I'm facing backwards to you, but I can still shoot you because we're not using old-fashioned 4th edition rules. Unit coherency. Surprisingly, it does seem that the mems are accurate. As in, you could have, let's say this page is 9 inches. Actually, wait a minute, this is... So, the way that suggests is that you could have these 2 models stood over here, remove the rest of the unit, have these 2 models over here, and you're in coherency. Or you could just have like 2 models stood here, 2 models stood there, and technically that's within coherency. Because they're all within 9 inches of one another, and they'll all be within 2 inches of at least one other model. There's no rules saying that no model can be more than 2 inches away from another model without another model being between the two and that model being within at least 2 inches of one of those models. Because that's ultimately the rule they'll need to add in if they want it to be same as before. I can't wait for the greatest G-Dubs apologist, Cupcon, to be wrong, and we get to say, look at how they massacred. They might do, but they did say in the questions and answers that the boys will have access to extra options and stuff. So, potentially. Just don't take any rules it shows here for granted there. And for other rules that they showed off, also don't take them for, you know, as that's what's going to happen. It seems that they're for combat patrol rules. In fact, there's been a couple of times when they showed the actual rules for them, and then we're like, oh no, we meant to show the combat patrols, they had to replace it with the combat patrol rules, but they actually showed off the official ones. But anyway, yeah. So you got your coherency, you got your engagement range. Engagement range is within 2 inches. Doesn't have to be wholly within, just within 2 inches. For instance, here you go. That's with an engagement range. These models here are an engagement range of each other because the tips of their bases are within 2 inches. Also, it has to be within 5 inches vertically. So selecting weapons is pretty much the same as normal. While over here, one of the things you're going to have to check is make sure you're reading these side parts, like over here, sidearms. Weapons that have the close quarter keywords cannot be shot at the same time as other weapons. Well, but not by the same model. A model can shoot all ranged weapons it has, except close quarter weapons. But it can either shoot all weapons it has, excluding close quarter weapons, or all close quarter weapons it has. So, you can still only select one melee weapon to fight with. When selecting to shooting, it has to be visible, it has to be within range, it has to be unengaged. All of this is normal. When fighting, each target must be engaged with a model that has a weapon, and you can't select more targets when you have attacks. All of that's pretty normal. Resolving attacks is where it's changed. Or more accurately, doing your saving throws. So all of this seems pretty normal. You roll your dice. You do just attack as normal. Identical attacks you put together, splitting melee attack. It's all pretty much as before. We've simplified how it shows the hit thing over here. 1 is always a miss, 6 is always a hit, or 6 is always a critical. So yeah. Same with over here. For rolling to wound is all the same as before. Wait, does it talk about... Resolve the attack sequence are all attack dice you just gathered. Yeah, that's all normal. Splitting melee weapons. Yeah, that's normal. Saving throws. So how it's changed with saving throws now is you basically split your unit into multiple groups. So each character is its own group. Every model that has the same wounds, save, and invulnerable save is a group. And then every is its own group. So in a Crusader squad, let's say you have a captain in your Crusader squad. You got your initiates, your sword brother, and your neophytes. Your neophytes, because they got 4+ armor save, it's in one group. Your character, because it's a character, is in another group. And your initiates and your sword brethren are both in the same group since they have the same save, wounds, and so on. And then what you do is when you just roll all the dice at once. If you have to take 10 saves from like 10 attacks, you just roll all the dice. What you then do is take all of the ones, and well, before you roll the dice, what you do, you say which one's going to take the damage first. So you either say, you can't say that the character will take, the characters always have to go last, or after all none of the character groups. So yeah, here, character groups can't be, you can't allocate them first. So what you do, the neophytes have to take saves. So you might say the neophytes are going to take the saves first, or you might say the sword brothers will take the saves first. You then roll all your dice. You apply all of the ones to the group that you're first saving against. If it's still alive, you apply all of your 2s to it and so on. And you just keep applying it. So this way, before what you do is you go, okay, I've got 10 dice. I've got 4 neophytes. That's 8 wounds there. I'm going to roll 8 saves on my neophytes. And then I'll take the next 2 on my neophytes if there's any still left. What you do now is just roll them all at once and start applying wounds on the lowest dice rolls to the highest. That means if you're, let's say 20 dice, you roll 4 1s and 4 2s. That'll be enough to wipe out your neophytes. And then, because you've only got 3+ saves left, your 3+ saves pass. Because you're now onto your initiates. If you had 2 1s, 3 2s, and 2 3s, you'll apply them all to your neophytes and they'll all be failing rolls on your 4+ save. It's very simple. It's harder to complete. But it's pretty straightforward. It's a lot easier than before, and honestly, kind of better. I can't wait for the GWist apologists to be wrong. No. Yeah, this isn't something they went over, but when I watched a recent battle report I did, it was intriguing watching that, because I can't, what did we take it on? I can't remember, because it was, Blood Angels and Ultramarines versus Orcs. And there was, I think it was Gaskell's unit. Yeah, because he had a Pain Boy, Gaskell, and a bunch of boys. So when he was taking his saves. One rule is, though, is that just as before, you always apply it first to any of the groups that has a wounded model. And similarly, this means that let's say you have Gaskell with Makari, both of them count as 2 separate characters, so will be 2 separate groups. And let's say someone used a precision attack to wound Gaskell, that means you'll always have to take the saves on Gaskell before Makari after that point. So you won't be able to go, oh, I've got 10 saves to take on Gaskell and Makari. I'm going to take one of Makari's 2+ invulnerable save. No. You have to take them on Gaskell because Gaskell's been wounded. And similarly, if you take any mortal wounds, they have to go into Gaskell before Makari if he's been wounded. So yeah, that's actually interesting. I can't remember if that was the way they did it before. Because I never used Gaskell. It was very rare that, you know, you'll have a non-wounded character. Hi, Mercury! You listen to money, be thankful, and strangers. Ooh, and alone. Oh, that's a wide range of time zones. I'm glad you have good music. So yeah, so it's interesting. It's definitely smooths out. Now, for most people, this, you know, way of doing saves isn't going to matter too much because, well, most of the time you're just not going to have multiple units of multiple different saves, except if you're a character in the unit, and even then it's relatively rare. But for people like who play Space Marines or whatever, not Space Marines, Black Templars, this is a much more simplified way of doing it. Been a while since I met you, so drop by. Yeah, thank you for dropping by. We're currently going over new rules of Warhammer 40k that are coming soon. And yeah, this is just like making ranged attacks. Which weapons will be in range, which ones won't be. BP is bolt pistols, heavy bolter, bolt guns. I'm just going over how you'd resolve the attacks and take the saves. This ability is... As before, you've got visible versus fully visible and its line of sight. That's all it goes over here. Mortal wounds. If a non-character, when applying from first apply it to non-character models that are wounded, then apply it to non-character models that aren't wounded, then apply it to character models that are wounded, and then apply it to characters that are unwounded. Before resolving mortal wounds, if you've got normal damage to also inflict, for instance, let's say you have an attack that inflicts, actually devastating wounds, big example, devastating wounds. Always apply normal damage first before applying mortal wounds. Charging sounds like we're trying to reinvent the wheel. I just about got the hang of the 10th rules. I'd say that for most part, these rules are simpler. Although some of the layout, it has been a bit of a work to get my head around some of the way they've done the layout for the rules here. Oh yeah, here we go. Model visible, model fully visible. Most of the rules are very similar to 10th. Like, this is all the same with 10th pretty much. Unit visible, unit fully visible. So if it's fully visible, it's not getting any terrain bonuses. So battle rounds. So battle rounds as normal. End of a battle rounds as normal. Command phase, shooting phase. Start the command phase, gain command points. This is actually how I thought Battle Shock was originally, and then I realised it wasn't. So when you take Battle Shock tests, any unit that's at or below, before it used to only be below, but any unit at or below half strength has to take a Battle Shock test in the Battle Shock phase. And then also any unit that is currently Battle Shocked must take a Battle Shock test. If it passes, it's no longer Battle Shocked. That's how I thought it should have always been, so it's good that it's now like that. Command abilities. Battle Shock isn't massive still, but at least it's a lot more impactful than it was in 10th. And it also means things like commissars and chaplains and stuff that, you know, have effects around stopping Battle Shock are quite important. That's just going over which units have to take Battle Shock stuff. Oh yeah, similar to before, you get your command points at the start. It doesn't actually talk about here the limit on command points, so I imagine it will talk about later. Rules that are triggered at the start of the movement phase are resolved now. Sorry, I'm flying at the moment. Selecting to move, it's all pretty much as normal. Remain stationary, make a normal move, advance, fall back, disembark, or ingress. We'll get into disembark or ingress moves and stuff later, as we can see here, much later. Remain stationary, it's remain stationary, make a normal move, move. Remember to read the top bit here. Move your movement characteristic, it's all as normal. Advance move, you're just not eligible to declare a charge or start an action, and you move your movement plus your advance roll box right here. And then fall back is your unit's movement characteristic. Ordered retreat or desperate escape. If your unit is not battle shocked, you select ordered retreat, otherwise you must make hazard rolls. Hazard rolls now are 1, 2 is a failure, 3, anything higher is a pass. You only take 1 wound from a hazard roll unless you're a monster or vehicle, in which case you take 3. So for something like a guardsman, a hazard is now much more dangerous. For vehicles, it's more dangerous. And for characters and multiple wound models like Space Marines and stuff, it's a lot safer to do hazardous now. So yeah. Let's say it's a lot safer. If you're effectively twice as likely to fail, but so it would now take like 2 failed hazardous tests to get rid of you. So if you have 1 plasma gun in a unit, it will at least be able to shoot twice before, you know, hazard gets rid of you. Where if you got Hell Blasters, you're probably going to find that it doesn't matter too much. Like in old rules, you fired 10 hell blasters, you might have 2 failures. Now you're likely to have 3 or 4 failures. So at the end, you're probably still going to be losing just as many models each time you fire it. But for things where it's just like a space marine for plasma gun in a unit or a plasma pistol, it's a bit safer. One thing you will find though, with the new way that you allocate wounds and stuff, right, it will be the same with the old way. It's that, like, if you have a space marine sergeant in your squad and he fails his hazardous throw, he'll take 1 wound. But that now means that if you take any more wounds of that unit, it has to go on the sergeant first. So while he'll still be alive compared to before, because he's wounded, he still has to take the extra damage. And Gus is now a 1 in 3 chance. It pretty much can guarantee that your sergeant if the squad's going to be lost. So there is some extra danger there, or doing a hazardous roll in your sergeant. Because obviously, you've got some intercessors. Sergeant has plasma pistol, fires it. Before, you only had a 1 in 6 chance of losing your sergeant. Oh my gosh, hello, Brian. No, don't turn me into a copcat. How you doing? Meowdy. Me, no. Don't ground me by turning me into a cat. But yeah, so before what you'd do is you'd fire a sergeant. Was a 1 in 6 chance he'll be gone. Now there's a 1 in 3 chance he'll be wounded. And then when the enemy shoots, the likelihood is your sergeant won't be around for the next turn. So arguably in some ways it is more dangerous. And that's like especially important for your sergeant because, you know, that's also a significant melee threat within that unit. So it's... Oh, you won! Well, you kind of got your money back. Okay, start of a shooting phase. Shooting phase, mostly just as before. Assault, pretty much just as before. The rules are a lot more clear here. Close quarter shooting. It took me a couple of reads to do it, but ultimately here, models in your unit can target enemy units that are engaged with. Monster and vehicle models can shoot the unit that they're in combat with, but they don't have to. They can still shoot a different unit if you want to. If you fire a close quarters weapon, you do not suffer -1 to hit if you target the unit you're in melee with. If you don't target the unit you're in melee with, you will also suffer -1 to hit on that weapon. But it doesn't have to fire at the unit you're in melee with. Blast weapons still cannot target units you're engaged with. You can't access a PDF for some reason. Oh no! Let me re-roll here. No, it still works for me. Ah. Indirect shooting, this one's changed. So indirect fire weapons can target units that are not visible to the attacking model. But if you do so, only a roll of 6 hits. They still have a benefit of cover. You cannot re-roll to hit against them. But if they are, unless your unit remains stationary, so if your unit remains stationary and the enemy is fully visible to your unit, or is visible, sorry, to another unit, or like a friendly unit, then you can hit on a 4+. One thing to note here is it says 1, 2, 3 fails, not 4, 5, 6 succeeds. That means if an arc weapon hits on a 5+, fires indirect fire while it remains stationary and another friendly unit can see the target, a 4 still fails. It doesn't mean a 4 succeeds. It just means that a 1, 2, 3 will always fail. Meanwhile, if you've got a Space Marine who can hit on 3s normally, a 3 is going to be a fail. So that's one thing to note there. Charging has been significantly simplified. I say significantly simplified. The way that they worded it is really weird. You gotta go now and listen to Summer Nights, Fox and Fun and the Word of Two. Okay, bye-bye. Thanks for popping in, Mercury. It's nice of you to be here. So, for wording here is confusing. Basically, what you do is you go, okay, am I within 12 inches of an enemy unit? Yes. Am I within engagement range? No. Okay, I can make a charge. Roll 2d6. I'm going to target every single unit that's within 12 inches of me. I've already rolled a 2d6. Let's say you get a 7. You can charge any of the units, including all of the units that are within 7 inches of you. Every single model has to end up as close as possible to the enemy units. Charging is like casting a net now, kind of, yeah. So every single model has to end as close as possible to one of your targets. And if possible, I think it says within 1 inches, doesn't it, somewhere? Yeah, so while moving, yeah, each model that can end a move within 1 inch of one or more charge targets must do so. Each model can end its move engaged with one or more targets must do so. So yeah, you just move as close as possible to the enemy. It's pretty much as normal. Now you do piling at the start of the turn. First, the player whose turn it is does all their piling moves. And then the enemy does. If you're wondering how, if you're like me, you might have missed the maximum distance 3 inches. Basically, piling move 3 inches. If for whatever reason you did start a fight phase with an engagement range of somebody, but they're no longer within engagement range of you, you can still make a piling move to get within engagement range of somebody. Hi, big guy. Now you can critically fail a charge. I guess so. Double ones always failed. No, I don't think double ones always failed before. Wait, can he critically fail a charge? No, double ones don't always fail. I don't see anywhere where it says a double one is a failure. So what's changed now is before you could not move within before engagement range was 3 inches of an enemy. Oh wait, side panel says double one always fails. Where is it? Oh, in the battle report, they failed then. They broke the rules because they rolled a double one for a charge, but it was still good enough to get in. The reason being, I'd say that it's not a fail. It's because you can't start with an engagement range of somebody, but if you're 3 inches away from them, if you roll a double one, you get within 1 inch of them. Which is... you know... that means if you're 3 inches away from somebody and you roll a double one, you can still get within range of them. You'll still be within 1 inch. If they did, you could fail a charge or 2 by rolling double ones. You had to roll a 1 and a 2. 3 rotates, it still kills me, drifting with my rhino. Yeah, they used to do 3 rotations. I've ever got rid of them. I've ever brought them back. I've ever did for pivot. That was weird. Eligible to declare a charge. Okay, so looking over here, I'm reading these rules. So select one or more units that are within 12 inches of your unit and within the maximum distance of your unit. Oh, wait a minute. Within the maximum distance, so that's how much you rolled. So, oh yeah, so if you do roll 2 inches, it's not within the maximum distance of your unit. Yeah, so that's where they failed. Because I'm pretty sure in the official battle report they did, someone rolled a double 1 for the charge, and they're like, yeah, I can still get within engagement range of you. Which is true, but the unit's not within the 2 inches of your charge distance. Because over here, where does it talk about the maximum charge distance? Yeah, that's your maximum charge distance on the 2d6 road. So yeah. Oh, they cheated! The orcs cheated! So in theory, if it didn't say and within the maximum distance here, you could still move towards the enemy. Oh. The stinky orcs. Yeah, the stinky orcs. I think it was the orcs. I can't remember. I just remember someone being like, I can't fail this roll. Double 1 still charges. Maybe I wasn't paying enough attention to them. So now you declare a charge, you roll 2d6, that's the maximum distance. If it's at any model within range, you can charge it. Doesn't say if you can loop around terrain though. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, let's look at this. A, C, B, A. The blue unit declares a charge, and the charge generates a 7. A unit within that distance, so can be selected as a charge target. With a blue unit, would not be able to end its charge move engaged with an enemy with this unit. Okay, so technically that is an eligible charge target, but it can't move within engagement range of them. Your unit must be engaged with all charge targets. That's the thing. After you move, you must be engaged with your charge targets. So it does go over it here. Terrain is in the way here. It can't be engaged here, so it can't charge them. They're not in range, so it can only charge these two. That works. So it does take into terrain. As I said, it's the way it words it here is kind of weird, and the format that they've done, it can get a bit confusing. It can be a bit to get your head around. What do you mean I could easily move that model around the terrain? No, but he'd have to move more than 7 inches to get around the terrain. Remember, this isn't necessarily a scale image. Over here, they had a similar thing where it was talking about units being shot at. Did I go past it? Yeah, if we're talking about ranges over here of guns. And yeah, apparently for bolt pistol, 12-inch range is only this far. But obviously, we're just doing exaggerated ranges here to tell you. So yes, while you could move around the terrain, if you can't do it within 7 inches, then obviously you can't. Because the charge doesn't specifically say you have to move in a straight line. It just says you have to move. And if you can't move around terrain because it's a bike, it can't move through the terrain. It has to go around and, you know, it needs to do that within 7 inches. And it has to be within engagement range. Your unit cannot be engaged with one or more enemy units that are not charged targets. Until the end of a turn, each model in your unit has a fights first ability. Oh yeah, so this is where it goes over the fights first. It's after moving, it specifically mentions it there. So yeah. Start of a fight phase. Piling moves. So yeah, you make your piling move 3 inches. So before moving, select piling targets. If your unit is engaged, every enemy unit it is engaged with is your piling target. Otherwise, select one enemy within 5 inches of your unit. So if you don't have anyone you're engaged with. So when you do the piling movements, you can make a piling move if your unit is engaged. It made a charge move this turn, or it was selected to overrun fight. So one of the things that why you may be able to make a piling target, I actually think they did this on the battle report. You charge somebody at the start of your charge phase, you activate an ability that allows you to tank shock someone, or like, you know, inflict mortal wounds before piling moves. It inflicts a mortal wounds, wipes out the enemy unit. You're no longer engaged with anybody. You can make a piling move to now be engagement range of another unit. And because you did make a charge move that turn, you still have a fights first rule. They did this in the battle report, surprisingly. Although when they did this, they also wiped out their own unit. Because tank shock now hurts you. Model. So if a model can get around terrain without exceeding its maximum distance from its starting point, you can charge any available target, yes. As long as you noted them down as a target beforehand. By the way of its wordings, I think they worded it weirdly so that other units can potentially use special rules to affect your maximum charge distance. Or what units you can target. So if the opponent had a rule saying that this turn you can't target them as a charge target, it just basically means you can't move with engagement range of them until the piling move. Start of a fight phase. So yeah, while moving, models in base-to-base contact with an enemy model cannot be moved. Each model that is moved must end its move closer to the piling targets and be engaged if possible. Your unit must be engaged after moving. So that means if you did do a charge move, you did wipe out the enemy with a special rule, you can't make a piling move if you can't get within engagement range of somebody else. Each model that started this move engaged with an enemy unit must still be engaged with an enemy unit. One thing that you should try to take into account as well is being within range of your other models. Because you do specifically have a rule up here. Coherency range. At the end of a turn, any models that are not within coherency range, if a unit does not have all of its models in coherency with one another, you must remove models from the unit, destroying them until it is within coherency range. So that means when you're doing all these planning moves, be careful how you're moving your unit. And equally, while you can like split up your unit so it's just like scattered around a circle, if it starts taking damage, it can very easily mean that some of the units won't be in models won't be in coherency anymore. Well, yeah, Crake stuff usually moves 2 inches from charge range, so I bet that'll be rewritten, say -2 to the unit's maximum distance. Yeah. And potentially, like the 12-inch over here. Oh no, yeah, that'll be within the maximum distance, yeah. So fights first now is the person whose player's turn it is selects which model they want to fight first. And if you've got a rule that's saying you can fight first, like charging, it means the player's turn will always get to choose. If this does mean fights first is still useful, for instance, let's say your opponent did a charge into one of your units and now you've got 2 units that can fight first. One of them was charged, one of them was not. Well, actually, even if both of them was charged, let's say you got Lictus, your opponent chooses what their unit first, and then you can choose one of your fight first units. So it's still useful, it's just not as useful as before. I love the idea that I charge a target within, let's say, 9 inches. I could move my model in a massive expanding spiral covering something like 24 inches of movement, but I still get in. I mean, if you've got something that can like increase your charge distance, then yes, you could do that. So let's say you could roll 4d6s for whatever reason for your charge. You still have to choose something within 12 inches. Or you got something that gives you a bonus to your charge. It still has to be within 12 inches. But you can move around it. One of the big ways that's going to be useful, and this is something you could do for old rules as well, is if a unit is 6 inches away but you roll 12 inches, you can use that 12-inch movement to get around the enemy and surround them. So resolve fight first combat. So what you do when it comes to fights first, I can't remember if this is different, but what you do now is, let's say I've got 2 units that can fight first, you've got 2 units that can fight first. So it'll be my turn, then your turn, my turn, your turn. Then when it comes to my turn again, okay, I'm like, oh, I don't have any fight first units. So now we go to resolve fights first combat. But let's say I charged, you've got no fights first. It goes my turn, my turn, my turn, my turn, your turn. I believe. So that means after fights first, your opponent gets to choose which one goes first. You're missing my point. The way it's worded is all the distances are asked for crow flies. And the only thing stopping me being charged in that example was going around terrain would go further than max. Yeah. And I get it. It's purposely worded that way so that you can go around for terrain and stuff. And you can go around for your units and so on. I mean, that's literally what it's there for. It also means that because it's as for crow flies, like for certain units that already get like +2 inches to their movement, meaning if they roll a 6/6, they can move 14 inches to get within range of your opponent. Have they moved 14 inches? Let's look. Yeah, for some... Oh no, it is the maximum distance is a charge roll. So, no. If you get +2 inches to your maximum distance or to your charge roll, then it will affect your maximum. So that means you can move 14 inches. And you can select a unit that's 12 inches away, but you have to move 2 inches around terrain to get to. And as a result, a 14-inch move will get you into range of it, even though theoretically you shouldn't do. 20 inches charge, so back boys, yeah! But I mean, again, that's only if you can increase your maximum distance enough. There's not many abilities that will allow you to increase your maximum distance. When a unit is selected to fight, normal fight, 2 unit fights is described and making attacks. Overrun fight, your unit is unengaged or was unengaged at the start of the fight phase but became engaged during the fight phase. Your unit can make an additional piling move and then fight. So that means if, let's say, we did have that tank shock, tank charges something, tank shocks it, destroys the enemy unit, then makes a piling move to an enemy unit. That enemy unit won't immediately do a piling move. Instead, all the combats will be done, and then when it comes to their turn to fight, they make a piling move, and then they fight. So yeah. Equally, if let's say you have 3 units in melee combat with one another, your unit goes first, kills a bunch of enemy models. Your opponent removes models that are around engagement of your second unit. And then it comes time for your second unit to fight. It can make a piling move to move into engagement range again of the enemy unit that they removed models from. If they removed enough models that you can't get the piling move to get within engagement range of them, you can't do that. But it does mean that it's a lot harder now for an enemy just to be like, oh, I'm just going to remove a model in base-to-base contact with that one enemy. And as a result, it can't fight anymore. No, they can make a piling move and they can get back into combat if needs be. There's loads of abilities that are in the vein of +1 to the charge roll. These would have a potential, anything. So it would still have to be, your target would still have to be within 12 inches of you. But if you have to move around terrain, you can move more than 12 inches if you have bonuses to your charge distance. So yeah, this is actually kind of fun for way to do piling moves. It's a bit complicated, but then after everyone's fought, you make your consolidation move. It's pretty simple here. At first, this seems a bit complex, but all this is telling you is this is just explaining which of the movement types you would use. So if you're still with engaged with somebody, you do the ongoing consolidation. Go to here, this is how you move. And then go to here, and this is important for after you move. So if your unit is engaged with another enemy unit, models in base contact with one or more enemy models cannot be moved, but all other models can be moved to be within engagement range of somebody, or as close as possible to an enemy. Again, maximum distance 3 inches. Each model that started this move engaged with an enemy must still be engaged with that enemy. Engaging consolidation. If your unit is within 3 inches of one or more enemies, but is not engaged with any other enemies, it can make a move, and that move is to go into engagement range of another enemy. And if you're not within engagement range of anybody, you're not within 3 inches of another enemy unit, but you are within 3 inches of one or more objectives, you can consolidate towards that objective. So this is just all the same as before. All of it's a 3-inch move. Very similar to before, but honestly, this is probably more simplified wording. Dresshows cannot understand these peasants' charge problems. Dresshow rapid ingress with 6 inches deep strike and charge, unbuffered in their own lane. Yeah, there's very few that can do a 6-inch deep strike and still charge. Ashton Militarum stuff. I like how they showed, this sort of terrain here. They used to sell this. The old Bastion bunker. It's sad. Tyranids. They really like making two. Kraken is so back this season. They love Kraken recently, don't they? Is that Death Corps of Krieg? Yeah, that's a Death Corps of Krieg. Placing terrain. So yeah, this is just talking about how you place your terrain. So what they've done now is terrain areas. So what you do is they suggest placing a mat or a base or something similar. You don't have to. You can just define the boundary by like putting just the terrain down. But what you do, you now have terrain boundaries. So you place down pieces of terrain.
You can never catch the Kraken lacking.
You can't catch a Kraken. True. But if they deep strike 6 inches, as it were, you now have to roll a 7 to get the charge off. Yes, that is true. So here you go. So this is what they're saying by terrain area. You put down 2 pieces of terrain. You could put them on a mat or a base, but you don't have to. It just makes it much easier to understand the terrain area. So being of a terrain area, this means that you're in terrain, and if you got exposed, light, and dense terrain now. Exposed is things like craters, razor wires, scattered debris. Everyone can traverse those without difficulty. You've then got light, which represents things like barricades, low walls, statuary, and then dense, which is buildings, armored containers, woods, and stuff. You agree beforehand which parts count as light and dense. So the terrain area isn't dense terrain. The terrain area would be scattered light terrain, while only the parts of the terrain will be, you know, dense terrain. So dense terrain area for this piece of terrain. If you have like 3 pieces like here, this one is light terrain. These 2, dense terrain. When moving, everyone can move as normal through exposed and light. Dense, only infantry, beast, swarm, and mobile units, mobile is new, can move through the terrain defense features. Infantry, beast, and swarm can move vertically through the terrain features. And other models can move horizontally through dense terrain features, provided that all sections of terrain features of the model's base. That moving model's base would move through are 2 inches or less in height. Otherwise, the moving model must first move vertically to ascend or descend such sections. They cannot move through ceilings and floors while doing so, and they cannot end that move on any surface of that terrain feature that is not ground or level. So that means you have to move around walls and stuff if you're a knight. Moving vertically. Models that must remain within ½ inch horizontally. Models that move vertically to ascend or descend terrain while doing so. Models just remain within ½ inch horizontally of that terrain feature. Add the distance moved vertically up and the distance moved vertically down to any point other distance that model has moved since its unit began that move. Yeah. Bossin killed Team Hivestorm terrain. It looks pretty decent and looks like it works for 40k too. Hivestorm, I think I know which one you mean. Is it Kill Team Focus? Oh no, it doesn't show it here. Well, you do have similar terrain with the Imperialis Ruins and the Battle Zone Manufactorum. But if we go other games, Kill Team, Kill Zones, here you go. Kill Zone Focus. So is it this one, Kill Zone Focus? Yeah, this terrain is great. I love this terrain. I have a bunch of it. I mostly just use it for basing though, like on my knights and stuff. Yeah, this would be perfectly fine to play with. But one issue that you might find with this type of terrain is that, you know, it's got a lot of extra height terrain here. Setting up or ending a move. That models can be set up or end a move on the ground level of terrain features. Models can also be set up or end a move on any surface of a terrain feature that is not on ground level if all of the following applies. Your infantry, swarm, fly, or monster or beasts. After ending that move, the model is stable and no part of the base overhangs. So a lot of this is just very similar to before. So yeah, this model has to move towards it, up, across, down, across if it wants to move. This model can move all the way up and then there. All of this counts as dense terrain. Mobile's a new name for mounted. Might be, actually. I imagine it might be for like other things as well. Maybe certain things that I don't know. Maybe certain vehicles as well, I can imagine, might be considered mobile. Like the Ravenous might be considered mobile, I don't know. Each time a range targets a unit, if every model in that unit meets one or more of the following conditions, that unit has a benefit of cover against an attack. That model has the infantry, beast, or swarm keyword as within a terrain area. That model is not fully visible to the attacking model due to one or more intervening terrain features and or one or more intervening obscuring terrain areas. Yeah. So infantry and beasts get the benefit of being inside a terrain area. Oh, that's cool. Each time a ranged attack would be made, remove 1. Worst of abilities go by 1, sorry. Hidden. A model is hidden when all of the following applies to it. That model has an infantry, beast, and swarm keyword. And is within a terrain area that contains one or more dense terrain features. That model's unit did not make one or more ranged attacks during this turn of a previous turn. Okay, so that means if you move into a terrain, if you shoot, move into a terrain feature and then just stay there, you'll become
really
hidden.
Weird painting stream this.
I know, so I didn't expect the new car rules to come out today. We'll get to painting soon. While a model is hidden, it can only be visible to enemy unit while it's within detection range, unless stated otherwise. Detection range is 15 inches. Obscuring terrain areas, counting at one or more light or dense terrain features, or obscuring terrain areas. If every line of sight drawn between two models crosses one or more obscuring terrain areas, that one or both of those models, those two models are not visible to one another. Okay, unless like one of them's inside the terrain area. So that's similar to before, how we were line of sight blocking terrain. The dense terrain areas have solid rule. Line of sight cannot be drawn across any enclosed gap in the surface of such terrain areas.
She's painting our brains with the info for 11th core rules.
It's true. It's true. So dense have a solid line of sight rule. Line of sight cannot be drawn across any enclosed gap in the surface of such a terrain feature. Okay, so that means if it's dense terrain, if it's like windows and so on, it doesn't count. Or if it's like in a bunker. So they can see them. They can see them. They cannot see them. They cannot see them. And they cannot see them. Okay. These guys can see through the windows to look at that guy. But it cannot look... Oh no, they can see one another. Because... Oh, that's because it's not enclosed. There's no roof above them. But they cannot see one another because it's enclosed. Oh, that means you can't see outside windows if it's inside the terrain. Yeah. How would bunkers work? Terrain objectives. If a mission uses objectives, it will state where they are located on a battlefield. Typically, your mission will have a deployment map. Blah, blah, blah. The location of each point should coincide with terrain area. That terrain area is the objective, and it's called terrain objective. I think someone came to the door. I'll be right back. Hello, the neighbours walked around a glass and I do not recognise the glass. Saying it's one of ours. I mean, it could be. I don't know all the glasses that my parents might have. So a player who has the highest level of control over an objective. So all of this seems like normal objective, smarter stuff. There we go. All of this seems like normal objective control things. Secured objective. It doesn't talk about two units being in the same. Hi, Saradwin. Back to work, have a good stream. Thanks for popping in. But not thanks for turning me into a cat. So mean. Secured objectives is now just a default rule in the game. The also objectives not within a terrain area. So stratagems mostly as normal before. Resolve a stratagem. Yeah. Why does it talk about objectives not within terrain area? Okay, we'll probably talk about them later. So command reroll. It specifically mentions what you can reroll here. So wound roll, save roll, hit roll, hazard roll, damage roll, charge roll, advance roll, or roll which determines the number of attacks generated by a weapon. Target that unit or model, you can re-roll that roll. If you're rolling more than one dice together, select one of those dice to re-roll, excluding charges, which you can do a full re-roll of. Epic Challenge. Target that character. Select one character model in your unit until the end phase. That model's melee weapons have precision capability. Same as before. In Shame Bravery, that Battle Shock roll is automatically successful. Battle Shock step with your command phase. Just before you make a Battle Shock roll for a friendly unit, you cannot use this stratagem more than once per battle. Oh, you can't use it more than once per battle. Ooh, was that always the case? Now, I don't think you can target an already battle shocked unit with insane bravery either. One friendly unengaged explosives grenade. Yeah. They can use explosives, use an explosives or grenades keyword. They don't make an advanced move this turn. Select one engaged enemy unit within 8 inches of that model. Roll 6d6 for each roll plus inflict one mortal wound. It's normal. Oh, and it didn't make an advanced move. Crushing impact's different. So select one model in your unit engaged with that enemy unit. Your charge phase just after a friendly monster vehicle ends a charge. Select one enemy unit it's engaged with. Select one enemy model in your unit engaged with that enemy unit. Roll a d6 equal to the toughness characteristic of that model. For each one you roll, you suffer one mortal wound, and for each 5+ you roll, for enemies suffers mortal wound to a maximum of 6. Now this means that if you roll 16 dice and you roll 16 ones, you can take 16 mortal damage. But if you roll 16 dice and roll 16 5+s, your opponent will still only take 6 mortal wounds. So this means you can make a roll. Spank me if it ain't for wait. It is the website time because we've got the blooming rules here today. The new 11th edition rules. It's big stuff. Also, anything else? Oh, Deathmire. The Siege of Deathmire. Campaigns begin on the 22nd of June. Oh, wait.
You are invited and submit your results online.
Nah, you can submit your results for games. But yeah, this means that if you go roll like 16 dice, because your toughness 16, and you roll 7 ones and 6 5+s, you can take more, or like 7 ones and 7 5+s. Your opponent will take less damage than you did. Which is hilarious. They should change it so both of them can't be more than 6 mortal wounds. You're getting spanked. Hi, TA! And then more rules. Rapid Ingress. Pretty much normal. Firewatch. We've now added snap
Ahoy,
shooting as a
cupcake.
rule. Oh yeah, there's also a limit of 24 inches on that. Ahoy, Foxy, how you doing? Heroic intervention. You basically charge the enemy. You must select one of the following modes. When selecting charge target, you can select enemy units that made a charge move and are within the maximum distance, or into the fray when making charge roll. If the result is greater than a 6, change it to a 6. But you can select any enemy units that are within 6 inches of your unit, so you don't have to charge somebody that charged. If it's a character / walker unit. Oh, that means you can still select it. It's like a Lehman Ross commander. Counter offensive. Your unit has to fight first, and it must be the next unit you select to fight. Performing actions is very similar to before. It's on the battlefield. A unit is eligible to start the action unless one of these apply. It's an aircraft or fortification. It's not on the battlefield. It is not battle shark. It's not got an OC of 0. It's not engaged unless it's a Titanic unit, in which case it can still do an action. It did not make an advance or fallback move. It has not already started an action this turn. It's not eligible to shoot unless it's Titanic. And it's not eligible to declare a charge that turn. And you complete an action. That unit does not complete its action if it makes a move excluding piling and consolidation or leaves the battlefield. So here we go. Oh, look at all the Sisters of Battle stuff here. Oh, so cool. Being attacked by Gene Stealer cults again. On Death Watch affair. That's cool. Moving monsters and vehicles. Advanced monsters and vehicles. Each time you make a normal move or an advanced move with monster or vehicle, in fact, unit can be moved through friendly and enemy models, excluding other monsters and vehicles. So Titanics can complete actions and shoot. Yay! And they can do it while within engagement range of somebody too, which is pretty fun. Some models do not have a base. Many of these are monsters or vehicles. Such models have a frame keyword, and as do some other large models. Whenever a rule refers to a model's position in relation to anything else on battlefield, if that model has frame keyword, unless stated otherwise, measure from the closest point of that model, so not necessarily from its base, even if it has one. When rotating a frame model as part of a move, I imagine that a bunch of the gladiators and repulsors and stuff might have a frame keyword instead. When rotating a frame model as part of a move, if that model does not have a base, turn it around any amount around its central axis while keeping it upright. A unit that is engaged with an enemy monster vehicle is still not eligible to shoot, and so cannot make ranged attacks unless it's using other stuff. Shooting at monsters and vehicles. In your shooting phase, enemy monster vehicles that are engaged can still be selected as the targets of ranged attack. But each time you do, select -1 for the hit roll unless the attack's made with a close quarter weapon by a unit that's engaged with a monster or vehicle. It's going over it here. Transport capacity. Models that have a transport capacity are listed on the sheet. This determines max. How many pages of rules are for this time compared to before? That's what I want to know, because it feels like a lot more. Yeah, it is a lot more. There's 60 pages here compared to 88 here. So Titanic's... Oh, wait, this is more or less 10.5 edition. That's often the case. What you'll often find is that it goes, like, 4th edition. 5th edition was basically 4th edition with some extra fancy rules in. 6th edition was massively different to 5th edition and 4th edition, introducing a whole load more stuff. 7th edition uniquely was quite different from 6th edition. 8th edition then reworked the game massively, even more than before. 9th edition was basically just fancier version of 8th edition. It's basically so they don't have to re-release every single codex every single time. It's not always worked like that, mind you, and it won't always work like that in the future. For instance, 12th edition could literally just be 11.75 edition. There's also no guarantee that 12th edition will come in 3 years' time if they think 11th edition is doing well as it is. 10th edition, though, came out with some like pretty serious flaws in it, such as Battle Shock, and the massive weakness of flyers. So, you know, 3rd edition and 4th edition were also similar to one another. In fact, many of the 3rd edition books could still be used in 4th edition. But this was before the Internet of Things was as it is today. Not everyone could access the internet easily. And as a result, they had to make sure each new edition, you could still use the same codexes on before, because they couldn't just release a new datasheet and say, hey, that's your rules now. I mean, they did kind of do that for Sisters of Battle, but they never did it online. Instead, they just released it in a white dwarf and going, hey, these are your rules. 2nd edition and 3rd edition were drastically different from one another. And so was 2nd from 1st. But you'll find that 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th all followed very similar rules. They were just slight variations of one another. And honestly, I think it's better when you don't have to change too much. 8th and 9th edition had some significant issues with, significant enough that they decided that when 10th edition came about, they'll just do away with all the old codexes. Which isn't that normal for them to do. It wasn't most of the time that they've released new editions, they've not done that. I don't really know 8th to 9th. I know mostly up to 7th, skip 8th to 9th, and then 10th. So yeah, it's not surprising that it's not changed too much. I don't think they want to have to put everything back onto data sheets again. But here we go. Transport capacity, pretty much as normal. Although this time around, it's only when you're declaring your battle formations that you have to put something in for transport. So embarking, once the first battle round has started, a friendly unit can embark within a friendly transport. Each model in the unit must be within 3 inches of that transport. That unit was not set above a battlefield this turn. That unit is eligible to embark. As described in the transport data sheet, the transport must have sufficient transport capacity. And it can do so after making a normal move, advanced move, or fallback move. So this is actually quite important because before there was a lot of strategy. Well, for some units that could only do that, like from a fallback. Could you do it from a fallback before? Because I'm pretty sure that there's some stratagems that specifically say after making a fallback move, you can embark with a transport. Or that does say within 6 inches, so it would still be useful anyway. When a unit is embarked, the active player removes that unit from the battlefield. So far, the rules are going for Tau Breacherfish to be less viable. I don't know. This is the first time I've looked at the transports and new rules. Disembarking. In the active player's movement phase, each friendly unit embarked in a transport can disembark for it by making a disembark move. If a transport model is destroyed before moving it from a battlefield, the active player must make an emergency disembark. So you got 3 types of transport moves. Rapid disembark. If a transport move made a normal move or ingress move, you'd use rapid ingress. In which case, each model must follow the same rules that the transport had to follow while resolving that move. So it means that if it made an ingress move and that ingress move specifically said they cannot charge that turn, they cannot charge that turn. If it specifically said they cannot shoot that turn, they cannot shoot that turn. That's what I'm getting from this. Oh, and I'm also assuming, but I think the main thing it's actually talking about here is if it made an embarkation, a rapid ingress, and it said it can't move within 9 inches of an enemy unit, those coming out to the transport cannot move within 9 inches of the enemy unit. That's probably what it's mostly referring to. And if it does so, it can't declare a charge that turn. Tactical disembark. If a transport remains stationary or has not yet been selected to move, you can make a tactical disembarkation. In which case, there's no additional rules to apply. You just select your unit to make a normal move or advanced move. So what that means is rapid and tactical disembark. You set yourself up within 3 inches of the vehicle. Combat disembark, you set yourself up within 6 inches. Using the tactical disembark, you can set up yourself within 3 inches and then make a normal move. That's an important thing to note there. So you don't have to remain within 3 inches of it. Transports appear to be a lot more dangerous of the occupants. Yeah, because now they got the hazardous and ones. Oh, for this time, if you fail on a 1. Actually, no, before was it if you fail on a 1, you still only take 1 wound, wasn't it? So combat disembark. Otherwise, you must select this unit. Make a hazardous roll for each model in the unit. You take damage on a 1 or a 2, but you'll only take 1 damage, which is important. The models can be set up to be within engagement range of 1 or more enemy unit. So it's similar to before, but you're more limited in the range that you can disembark from the transport now. Also, since hazardous is getting gutted, it's like every Death Guard character's only ranged option is plasma pistols or guns. They're going to be die guards. Well, this depends, because we're talking about this earlier. You now fail on a 1 or a 2. So this means that, let's say you're rolling 6 dice because you got 6 hazardous weapons. Before, you'd lose 1 model on average, because you'd, on average, on 6 dice, roll 1 hazardous. And failing the hazardous means you take 3 damage, meaning you'd lose your model. Now, you'd, on average, fail 2 rolls, and as a result, you'd still lose 1 model because you've only got 2 damage. 2 wounds, sorry. Hi, John Ackwitz. But the thing that you have to take a note now of is you've got your you've got a model in your unit with a plasma gun or plasma pistol. You now have a 1 in 3 chance of it failing, not a 1 in 6 chance. Okay, yeah, you'll only take 1 damage. But now, if your enemy shoots at that unit, the first model you have to remove now is that model that failed the hazardous test. So if you have your plasma gun or your plasma pistol, the first model you have to remove is going to be that plasma gun. So before, you had a 1 in 6 chance of failing, your enemy, you pass. Let's say you rolled a 2 before. You're fine, you don't lose your plasma gun. Your enemy now shoots at you, you can take off 1 of your bolt guns. But now, it's... You roll a dice, you roll that 2, your plasma gun's taken a wound, your enemy now shoots at you. That plasma gun now has to be taken off first because it's wounded. That's one thing you have to note now about hazardous, is it's now more vulnerable to your enemy shooting. Death Guard championing for his pistol at the subordinate before it explodes, he takes out his spare. No, that's not how it works. Unless hazardous has changed. Let me check. Because I thought it could be that that unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Oh wait, it doesn't say yes specifically it has to be for hazardous weapon, but let's check for hazardous weapons. We'll specifically look for hazardous weapons. Come on. Hazardous, yes. Each time the unit is selected to shoot to select to fight, after that unit has resolved its attacks, make a number of hazardous throws. Of that unit equal to the number of hazardous weapons you select. Oh yeah, yo, so yes, you're correct. A plasma for hazardous, for mortal wound does not have to be taken of a hazardous weapon. Meaning you can have your plasma gun can overheat, it can kill your character, and then somebody just walks up to it, picks up the plasma gun and goes, okay, I'm fine. Oh, this also means that if a character takes a wound, he can just literally... Yeah, so hazardous, it's gone back to how it used to be in ancient rules. So plasma guns used to have an issue of if you roll a 1 to hit, you take hazardous damage. But you never had to take that on the person actually wielding it. You could just throw it to any other model. Which was fine for like just a marine armed with a plasma gun. If a plasma gun overheats, kills the wielder, someone else picks it up. But yeah, for a sergeant. For other stuff, I forgot Psychers will explode more too now. Psychers will explode more too now. But the way that this suggests is... Yeah, to make a hazard roll for a unit, roll a d6 and a 1 or 2 that roll fails, the unit suffers 1 mortal wound. Yeah, so it's only taken on the unit, it's not taken on the model specifically with hazardous. And even the hazardous rule over there didn't specifically mention. Darn it, sorry. There we go. Yeah, it doesn't specifically say that the hazardous has to be taken. Lord Librarian gives his exploding migraine to his... Now that actually makes sense because it used to be that if you miscast your magic, you didn't necessarily have to take it on your Psyker. Often what would happen, you basically, your Psyker doesn't explode his head. Instead, your Psyker loses control of his magic and it starts sapping everyone around him. So he unleashes like a massive lightning bolt. It doesn't go very well and instead he hits his friends. That's how it kind of works. And I guess in this regard, when it comes like, hey, your sergeant, not your sergeant, your captain overheats this plasma pistol. Instead, like the sergeant's armor just vents all of the plasma gas to some, like, away from him. But because he's surrounded by his bodyguard, it takes out one of his bodyguard instead. That's how I'm imagining it now. Or like you're shielding or whatever. It makes less sense with characters' plasma guns, but... You know. Yeah, okay, so emergency disembarkation. Make a hazardous roll for each model of the unit. Okay, farming attached units, you can have the leader and support ability. An attached unit is a single unit with lead and support unit. Before battle, one support, yeah, so it can only have one lead and one support unless otherwise mentioned. Attached units work very similar to before. But okay, this time around, it's suggesting that, let's say... So, let's say you have 10 Arc Boys. They've got a War Boss leading them, and then a Banner Knob. If you lose all of your Arc Boys... Oh yeah, they did this! In the blooming They had Gaskell Thacker, a mob of Arc Boys, and a Pain Boy. All of the Arc Boys got wiped out, but the Pain Boy could still return the Arc Boys to the unit. And they still counted as one unit, even though only Gaskell and the Pain Boy remained, and Makari. So yeah, in this case, you do count. You don't split up the units as you would now. You always count as being part. Effectively, as soon as you set up the unit, it counts as just one unit now. That means if you lose all of the models in the unit except from the Pain Boy, and the Pain Boy uses the ability to return models, or you got an Apothecary, it can return models. It can return models even if the entire unit is wiped out except the Apothecary. So yeah. That makes those units way more powerful now. Keywords and attached units. Pretty much similar to before. Yeah, so it's pretty much identical to before with keywords. Psyker joins a unit. The entire unit is a Psyker unit now. Even if only one model in the unit, it has the Psyker keyword. Abilities and attached units. Leader support. The last model in that leader or support unit is destroyed. Bodyguard unit. The last model in that bodyguard unit is destroyed. So that means if, let's say, your Arc Boys have a rule that they can do a surge move each turn. Oh, no, Arc Boys, I think they can do for... No. I can't remember. Let's say your Arc Boys just have the ability to make a surge move. If you've only got your Pain Boy and Gaskell Thacker left, you can't do your surge move. But if your Pain Boy brings back some Arc Boys, you've now got your surge move again. That model is destroyed. So that means if you have a support that gives you an invulnerable save, and the rule of the support unit is just it gives this unit an invulnerable save and doesn't specifically save the bearer of this ability, that means even if your like banner or whatever is sniped, you still get the benefit of it, even with the banner gone. That's what I'm reading that as. This means leader support units continue but to benefit from their own effect, while this model is leading a unit's ability even after the bodyguard unit is destroyed, provided they start to a battle in an attached unit. Okay, no, actually, no, it's the specific leader support. So no, that means if a banner is destroyed, you do lose the access to that ability.
Misery word of the day. Bye. Bye, everyone. EP.
Okay, goodbye, Misery. So yeah, no, if you do lose your banner, you lose your rules. Never mind, I misread that. Yeah, it's just talking about, yeah, me being silly. Placing units in strategic reserves. Similar to before, you can't exceed...
Time to crack open a Coke Zero.
Size. Not Coke Zero! Oh, but at least it's a cola. Repositioned unit. Some rules allow units to be moved from a battlefield and placed in strategic reserve during the battle. They're repositioned. If any unit... If used in movement phase, such rules can be used on units that have already moved that phase. A repositioned unit that is set up with the same term, in which it made an advanced fallback or disembark move, has still made an advanced fallback or disembark move that turn. When they are moved from a battlefield, any rules that have affected such units for a specific duration continue to affect them. Okay. Set up 6 inches when you arrive from strategic reserve. While moving, set up your unit wholly. And more than 8 inches away from all enemy units. Yeah. And you're not eligible to make any other type of move. At the end of a third battle round, unless otherwise stated, all strategic reserve units that have not made one or more ingress moves are destroyed with the following exceptions. Units embarked in transports that have made an ingress move during the battle. Repositioned units. Makes sense. Surge moves is now a proper rule. After moving a surge move, that unit cannot be within engagement range of one or more enemy units that were not the surge target. Your unit cannot move again this phase. Flying models. Okay, here we go. Fly. When models with a fly keyword and such units are able to fly, each time a flying model is selected to make a normal advance or fallback move, it can take to the skies. Oh yes, it can move normally, or it can take to the skies, in which case it can move over terrain and other models, but it reduces 2 inches from its movement. This includes charge moves, which is pretty cool. Aura abilities. Always within range of its own aura. Faction abilities. Only apply for army faction you selected while mustering your army matches the faction keyword listed on that unit's data sheet. Psychic abilities. Cause a model to lose one or more wounds. Each of those wounds is said to be inflicted by a psycho attack. War gear abilities. Plunging fire. We've already seen this. If you're in terrain, you can plunge fire. You get +1 to your ballistic skill. If you're towering, you also get it as long as the enemy's within 12 inches. Aircraft can only move via ingress moves. Shooting, charging, and fighting. Aircraft cannot declare charges. Oh, aircraft! Yeah! Oh. Reference abilities, duplicated abilities. Multiple instances of the same car ability or weapon ability are not accumulative. Okay. Multiple instances of weapons that include a number, i.e. sustained hits 1, are not duplicated even if that number varies. Okay. Anti, is just critical wound. Assault is just normal. Blast is as before, but now you've got like blast of a number if needs be. Cleave is blast in melee. Close quarters is pretty much the same as before. Deadly demise is still on a 6 and still only 6 inches. Devastating wounds is the same as before. Mortal wounds inflicted by devastating wounds can damage a maximum of 1 model for each critical wound. Any remaining mortal wounds inflicted by the attack are lost. I think that's new. Deep Strike. Each time a unit makes an ingress move, if every model in this unit has this ability, it can be set up anywhere on the battlefield that's more than 8 inches away from an enemy. Firing deck. This ability always takes the form of firing deck X. If you're shooting in your shooting phase, each time a transport is selected to shoot, if 1 or more units embarked within it to solve the following attack, select up to X models embarked within the transport, excluding models whose units have already been selected to shoot this phase. For each selected model, select one of its range weapons, excluding one-shot weapons. Until this transport has resolved all of its attacks, it has all of those selected weapons in addition to its other weapons. Until the end of a turn, units embarked with this transport are not eligible to shoot. So pretty much the same as before. Extra attack. Each time a unit is containing one or more models with an extra attack weapon fights, those models will make attacks with those weapons in addition to any other weapons. For each of those models, you must select all of that model's extra attack weapons, one of that model's other melee weapons if possible. That doesn't specifically say that you can no longer increase the number of attacks from your extra attacks, which is interesting. Fights first is already seen. Hazardous, we've already looked at. Feel no pain. Each time a model with this ability loses a wound, roll a d6 and an X+. That wound is not lost. Heavy can now move 3 inches. Each time an attack is made with a heavy weapon, add 1 to the hit roll if all of the following apply. If the unit is not engaged, or if the unit is unengaged, the unit was not set up of a battlefield this turn, it's not moved more than 3 inches. Infiltrators, again, deploy more than 8 inches horizontally from your opponent's board edge. Lance, each time an attack is made with a lance weapon, if the attacking model's unit made a charge move this turn, add 1 to the wound roll. Same as before. Leader, same as before. Offer. Ooh, each time this model takes the skies, do not subtract 2 from its movement. Oh, that's pretty cool. Ignores cover. Each time an attack is made with an ignores cover weapon, the target cannot have the benefit of cover against that attack, including from rules such as benefit of cover, such as stealth. Lethal hit. If you get a critical hit to art 2 wounds, indirect fire, I've already talked about. Lone operative. This unit is not visible to a unit unless it's within 12 inches of this unit, and it cannot be targeted by indirect fire unless that indirect fire weapon is within 12 inches. If this unit takes the form of Lone Operative X, it's pretty much the same, except you change the 12 inches to however long that X is. One-shot weapons. It's as before. Melter weapons. It's identical to close quarters, this pistol. Within half range. For melter is still the case. Precision, when resolving attacks made with one or more precision weapons. You can select one visible character as the target. So basically means that any attacks first have to be made against the character of your choosing, if you choose to target the character. Scout is the same as before. If this unit is in strategic research, you can set up this unit anywhere that is wholly within your opponent, within your deployment zone. Ooh, that's cool. They don't have to come in from a board edge. If this unit is wholly within your deployment zone, it can make a scout move. And if that unit is embarked in a dedicated transport, the dedicated transport can also make a scout move. And it can't be within... Your unit must be more than 8 inches away from enemy unit. Psychic attacks cannot have a ballistic skill or weapon skill modified. Okay, not any on all modifiers for attack's ballistic skill or weapon skill, and any modifiers for hit roll. Which is pretty nice. Rapid fire is pretty much the same as before. Stealth. You just get the benefit of cover all of the time. Sustained hits is pretty much the same as before. Support is we've already seen. Torrent weapons. Auto hits as we did before. Twin linked means you reroll to wounds still. Each time a unit with this ability makes a normal advance or fallback move for super heavy walkers. Models in that unit can move through models, excluding monsters' vehicles, including monsters and vehicles but excluding Titanic, and can move horizontally through sections of terrain features that are 4 inches or less in height. Only 4 inches. Before moving that unit, you can select all of the models that in that unit to have a wait. Before moving a unit, you can select all models in that unit to have a mobile keyword. Until that move ends, if you do, when that unit ends its move, roll a d6 on a 1, it's battle shocked. You can gain the mobile keyword on your super heavy walkers. Knights be mobile, like. Digital support. Yes, digital support. Strength and half strength. That's just going over stuff before. What counts as destroyed, different move characteristics. Eligible to fight, but unable to fight. Mixed units, mixed keywords and units. Objective not within a terrain area. If a location off point of an objective does not coincide with terrain area, you must denote that location of an objective with a flat circular marker, 40 millimeters in diameter. This is called an objective marker. Models can move through objective markers, and they can end a move on top of objective markers. A model is within range of an objective marker while it's 3 inches horizontally and 5 inches vertically of that model. For 5, when a unit of 5s resurrects or returns a model to a unit, the specific number of destroyed models are added to that unit. This cannot expand a unit beyond its starting strength. Such models are added with all war gear and enhancements they start to battle with, and unless otherwise stated, they are returned with their full runes remaining. Okay, interesting. Okay, so the rules are very... There we go, we finally went through all the rules. It only took us like 20 hours, but we did it. We did it. We've seen the rules. Oh, gosh. So, most part, the rules are very similar. Transports are a little bit weaker than they used to be. Charging is a bit stronger than it used to be. Definitely seems melee armies are getting an improvement this time around. Flyers are better. Although, actually, we didn't see the thing about... Did it actually mention aircraft in those? Oh, no, it did. It did. Let's look. Let's look up for aircraft. I somehow completely missed the aircraft. I mean, I didn't completely miss them. I just skimmed over them. Just like, oh, no, it's all rules we've seen before. Bonk. Okay, you know what? It's like 76 or whatever. Oh, here it is. Yeah. It was 57. Here we go. So... Aircraft units are eligible. Aircraft units are only eligible to make an ingress move. At the end of your opponent's turn, all aircraft units in your army that are on the battlefield must be placed in strategic reserves. Each time an aircraft makes any type of move, its model can be moved through aircraft models. Wait, where's ingress move? Like, what's it up here? Ingress move. That took 6 inches. Yeah, that does mean that aircraft will always have to be just within 6 inches of a board edge. Which, I mean, aircrafts are pretty big models. That means they can go pretty far. Actually, no. Most aircraft have a deep strike keyword. They can set up anyone for battlefield if they want to. Yeah, most aircraft have deep strike, don't they? I need to check this now. Do most aircraft have deep strike? Let's look. We got the Adeptus Mechanicus aircraft, the Aerioraptor. That has... No, it does not have deep strike. It does have a hover for rule. I think aircraft automatically got deep strike, wasn't it, originally? Here we go. Just going to take a couple of seconds. Yeah, shooting. Plunging fire rule has no effects against aircraft. Charging and fighting. Aircraft units are not eligible to collect charges. Made by all. Aircraft should have plunging fire. Huh. Okay, that is weird. Like, do the Eldar aircraft have deep strike? I feel like all aircraft should get given deep strike or something. Otherwise, that kind of sucks. Crimson Hunter. Yeah, if it didn't have deep strike, because that's not how aircraft work. I mean, if you had hover, you could probably use it with deep strike. Like, where's a Space Marine one? Stormhawk Interceptor. Could that deep strike? Nope. Storm Raven. Nope. That's going to be really weird for transport aircraft then anyway. Outside of, you know, hovering. Like, how are they going to work? But anyway, finally we get to painting. What everyone, well, maybe you're waiting for. Maybe you weren't. Maybe you're like, I hope we look at the rules forever because I love rules. And now you're disappointed that we get into painting. This is over just blank plastic. It's fine. Yeah, this is how primer is so important to painting a model. Look at just how much nicer the paint goes onto the parts that are actually primed compared to the parts that aren't. I did figure out which colour I want to be using for layer paints. It was, not... Oh, what's his name? Elf, begins with A. High elf character. Was it Techless Blue? It might be in Techless Blue. I can't remember. I know I added it to a shopping cart on first site to normally buy Warhammer from. With the intent to buy it when Armageddon comes out. Yeah, over bits where there's no actual primer, they're not going to be really visible. I'm just going to paint anyway, just in case people do get to glance at it. Doesn't have to be perfect, just has to be existing on those areas. Or maybe it was Arahem blue. I can't remember, but I found a blue colour that I'm going to get, which should work well with Palisar blue. A nice light blue. Definitely going to need it after this, my goodness. So, if you're wondering why I'm going for a Ushabti bone, it's just that I want my guys to be, like the robes and stuff, to be a nice watercolour. And the rest of the model to be a nice beachy colour. Except when I'm going to paint gold. It's just going to be a lot of the model. The wires are going to be red. Mechanicus symbol is going to be red and white. Yeah, new rules. Sorry we spent so much time with the new rules. The new rules, they look good, I think. The main thing I am interested in seeing, though, is not the rules, but how data sheets are going to change, especially with how they said they're going to change points now. So that certain unit will have different points for different options. I'm hoping what that means is that vehicles that can take sponsons, but, you know, where it's optional to take sponsons. Like, you don't have to take a sponson on a Lehman Russ. I don't want to take sponsons on FE Lehman Russ, I feel like. I'm hoping that means that you have to just pay like a fixed price just for all sponsons. I'm hoping that some of the weapon options that feel, you know, like they got an option between last pistol bolt pistol and plasma pistol, they actually balance it. So that, like, hey, okay, it's a sergeant's last pistol, or, you know, it's a character's last pistol. Maybe if it should be better than, you know, just a typical last pistol. Maybe it should get more attacks. Maybe the bolt pistol should be damaged too, but less accurate. The plasma pistol should be less accurate. Yeah. Getting under this model is a bit difficult. That's what we shall do. Okay, I might have to turn my air conditioner on because it's very warm in here. My mother has found the glass. Oh, there we go. Crab rock. Crab walker. We're under the crab walker. Does anyone have like any significant thoughts on the new rules or how it will change things? Well, I think aircraft have gotten better now. I do feel like it should like have a rule saying that ingress moves should be like 20 inches or something instead of 8 inches, 6 inches. Or like all aircraft can deep strike. I mean, they didn't have plunging fire before, and plunging fire was a thing. I mean, at least they did, you know, think hard enough to go, oh, aircraft shouldn't be affected by plunging fire, which is good. I do think that all aircraft should innately get deep strike or just have a longer ingress move, though. That's the one thing I think is needed. I'd also think that, to be honest, aircraft should always be like -1 to hit or -1 ballistic skill. They can't get the benefit of cover, but they don't need the benefit of cover. Maybe bring back the old rule that was effectively oh, what was it? Aircraft were always on 6s to hit unless you had anti-aircraft rule. But bring something back like that where aircraft are, you know, -1 to hit or you're -1 to ballistic skill against them. unless you've got that anti-aircraft special rule. That would be nice. Like, again, it wouldn't, like, if aircraft are remaining at the points and capabilities that they do have now, I think that the new way that they do ingress moves and move away simplifies the aircraft, makes them much better. But they need to either deep strike have 20-inch movement onto the board. I remember them being -1 to hit unless you were in hover, and most anti-aircraft weapons got +1 to hit against them. Yeah. Just give me a moment. I'm going to turn on my air conditioner and set it up. And back. If you could hear the noise, it's just me having to move a big old air conditioner tube. So it was out the window. Yeah, I do think the new rules at aircraft is much better than before. Because at least they can now be on the field every single turn. Wherever you need them. But especially for transport aircraft. It feels weird. And for Bema aircraft as well. Or they should change ingress to be equal to your movement characteristic. When you come onto the battlefield, which honestly will be better than just 6 inches. Would be worse for things like Photon, better for everybody else. Well, not everybody else, but lots of others, Eldar specifically. And it would make sense. Eldar should be better at outmaneuvering you. So I am expecting or hoping for, you know, some rule updates almost immediately. Which, I mean, wouldn't be surprising. They've been like that since pretty much 6th edition. 10th edition had some pretty quick rule changes. Had some pretty significant rule changes as well through the edition. What else is there? I don't know. As you can see, aircraft are the main thing I thought about. It's the main thing that changed, to be honest. Everything else that changed, it's pretty good. Like the way charges changed, honestly, the way hidden and detection works still feels a bit weird to me. I'm still getting my head around it.
The conjurer is cute as ever.
Thank you. Okay, that's going to be red, that's going to be red, that's going to be red. They're going to be gold, 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 red. Probably red, 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 gold, gold, gold. I'll probably do gold spikes. Gold, 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 gold. Okay, so all of this can be bone now. Bomb, 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 bomb. I think I need a bigger brush. Where did my lid from my brush go? Lid from my brush. Where'd you go? Lid from it's over here. Oh. Ah, don't paint my thing. Trying to paint my screen there. Hazardous is also a big change. As Dennison said, the changes to transports could screw over certain things, like, you know, the devilfish breaches. I don't think it's that bad, mind you. The breaches are going to be more significantly affected than others, though, because of their incredibly short range. But that being said, oh no, the thing that gives you plus 6-inch range only affects battle suits now. That absolutely sucks. Yeah, I do not like that rule. Like I was thinking, the 6-inch range one becoming a 1 detachment point would be great for giving it to breaches, but no, you can only do that for battle suits. Yeah, breaches will struggle a bit more. Which I guess isn't necessarily a bad thing, as breaches had just become like the meta that everyone went to. It was also a significantly cool unit, and it sucks that it'll be changed. But giving more, like, impetus to take strike teams over breaches would have been nice. I still think the breaches will be the go-to, mind you. Maybe a bit more of a struggle than before. I'm full of macroplastics. Do 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 macroplastics. Ow, I just tumbled that over. I just tumbled over my magnifying glass. Da 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 da. Firing deck pretty much works as before. Characters are more powerful, I think, right now. Their abilities are more powerful in general, with how attached units and stuff work. Psychers are a little better than before. Not massively better, but for a little better. Oh, psychic attacks basically all ignore cover now. That's interesting. And attacks, abilities that allow you to ignore modifiers to your ballistic skill are way more powerful. Because before, the only time you'd really see that is with stealth units. It wasn't like the most common thing to come across, so it could always feel like a waste having that ability. But now, you're pretty much always going to be facing something that's got, you know, modifying your ballistic skill. Which makes those things way more powerful. Yeah, there's definitely areas that I'm going to have to go back over with blue with a small brush. But it's fine. Hi, Night Parade. Have you seen the new car rules have been revealed on the website? 11th edition Warhammer 40k. We've spent most of the stream not painting, but instead just looking at rules. We're now painting a crab walker. Crab. Everything becomes crab, including vehicles. I was listening a bit earlier to some of the rules, but I had to go out once work finished. Oh. What do you think of the 11th edition rules so far then? I don't know when you're there. There's definitely more pages of rules now. And some of the wording of the rules is like a bit confusing. Probably not helped by me trying to stream at the same time. And being dyslexic. Dyslexic, always my go-to get out of jail free card. It wasn't my fault, I'm dyslexic. You obliterated half the world's continents. Well, you know, I'm dyslexic. You can hardly blame me for that. It's like, oh, she's got you fair, she's got you fair. I feel like what units would I like to see in 10th edition, 11th edition? A new detachment. Oh, it didn't show us about detachment points and stuff and about game sizes. I didn't see anything about that. Maybe I need to look at what the start. Gotta love the list actually. Get out of jail free card yet. Why it exists. What do I think? Did it actually mention detachment points? I now need to look again. I just thought detachment points, eh? The grim darkness of a fever for future, blah 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 blah. Yeah, they don't have anything about like actually like making your army here. Like how many characters you can have, warlord, anything like that actually. How many dedicated, how many core units, battle sizes. I'm wondering if this is just going to be in the chapter approved then. Because, you know, for mission rules. Because at the moment, the rules for like setting up and stuff, how you do your army, is half split between Carve rules, your chapter approved tournament companion, and your Pariah Nexus tournament companion, like depending on which ones you're doing. My knowledge of the tabletop games is limited, so I can't really form an opinion on 11th edition. I intend to look more into how to play once I've built more models and informed an army. Oh, that makes sense. I wonder if they did that because people kept getting confused because no one actually checked for tournament companions. I say no one, lots of people didn't think to check for tournament companion. Actually, I didn't for ages. I just took the rules based on my, what's it called? The core rules until one day I'm building a list and it's like, hey, you can't do that. I'm like, why not? And they're like, because tournament companion. I'm like, what the heck tournament companion is for? That's a tournament. And I'm like looking at it and like, oh. That's what it is. It's just got all the rules in. Ushabti bone, we love you too. Ushabti bone, we love you dearly. Ushabti bone. Beach walker, crab. Beach walker, walking crab. Titanic models do feel more powerful in the new rules, if I'm entirely honest with you. I guess one weakness for charging armies, melee armies, is that 12 inches isn't as long as it used to be. Like a 12-inch charge isn't going to get you into the areas it used to. Like the same way that you can now need a 10-inch charge if you drop 9 inches away from someone. And you now need like a 9-inch, even though you can drop 8 inches now. Yeah. The old 12-inch charge is now 13-inch charge. The old 11-inch charge is now a 12-inch charge. Oh no, sorry. Yeah. What's this? 12 inches. Yeah. Charges. That's
12 inches, you say?
That's a foot. There we go. Oh, nice and painted. Doesn't have to be perfect. I'm going to go over with skeleton hard eventually. I have to wash my brushes again. Like hot soapy water and vinegar and stuff. But everything else, like the ability to stay hidden as long as you've not shot, is really good for melee armies, because a lot of melee armies, like Hormagaunts, they can't shoot. So them just moving through terrain, actually that's actually incredibly accurate for Hormagaunts though, isn't it? Like Hormagaunts just sneaking through the terrain and the buildings and stuff, just reaching your position. Silently scuttling along. That's incredibly accurate. All you see is just like moving shadows in the distance until suddenly they're on top of you. And you've barely got any time to react. It's also going to be very difficult to deal with Hormagaunts as a result, because what's their movement? It's 10-inch move, isn't it, for Hormagaunts? They can't shoot. And on the top of that, I think they can advance and charge. And what else can they do? I think there's a way to increase your charge move with Hormagaunts. I might be incorrect, but I think there is. But either way, they've got a potentially a 28-inch range charge. Minimum 14-inch. Like from where, like start of turn to where they can end up. And average is, because I mean, detection range is 15 inches. They can move 10 inches. They can average 3.5 inches on top of that, and average another 7 inches for the charge. So that's 20.5 inches that they can go from where they are to being in melee with you. They've only a detection range of 15 inches. That means you usually won't get a turn to shoot them unless it's Overwatch. You've then got things like the Black Templars, where they've only got bolt pistols. Actually, no, even worse. Khorne Berserkers. Yeah, they got 20 people, but they only have bolt pistols, and a couple of them might have plasma pistols. And you can very much imagine a World Eater going, yeah, I'm just not going to shoot, I'm just going to charge across the battlefield.
"15 inches, you say?"
Yeah, 15-inch charge. Oh, detection range. Now, World Eaters, they'll be a bit worse. They're not necessarily going to not want you to shoot them, because they got the surge move. They want you to shoot them so that they can surge move towards you. And Black Templar can also surge move. Black Templars have heavy bolt pistols, which are better than at 18-inch range. They've got strength 4, damage -1. And they've also can shoot at the same time than normal bolt pistols at 12 inches. Both of them I could definitely see wanting to shoot rather than just letting them not shoot. In the first turn, there might not even be a target for you to shoot with your pistols. And you could always shoot them in melee anyway. So you're not exactly losing out a lot by not shooting from in the first turn or second turn. I'm missing spots of these things, but again, I'm going to be my main thing is just trying to get a nice base. I'm going to be getting skeleton hard on it, which will give much better coverage. But yeah. Yeah, I think Tyranids are going to definitely be a lot more dangerous this edition. What other units offer? You got like Viper Swarms, Nurglings and stuff. They also can all be hidden because they're swarms. Things like Flesh Hounds can be hidden, except for things with Flesh Hounds. Their range attack is amazing, but it's such a short range. It's only a 12-inch ranged attack, so you'll only be wanting to shoot it once you're already in charge range anyway. And so many of the other melee threats, if they've got a ranged weapon, what am I even doing here? So many other melee threats, if they've got a ranged weapon, it's going to be within charge range to use that weapon. There's very much no reason for them to get out. Well, that's being said, that's going to make all of these abilities and stuff to increase detection range much more important. That being said, a Tyranid army that uses predominantly just Hormagaunts and things like Von Ryan Lepus and Lictus, and maybe just Deep Strike anti-vehicle things like Trigons, it's going to be terrifying. Like, imagine playing Tau and your opponent just goes, okay, oops, all Hormagaunts. You can't shoot at your enemy because they're all outside of detection range. And even with like increasing the detection range to 18 inches, they can easily charge you before you get within detection range. Like, I mean, you already had the issue of first turn charges, but now second turn charges are going to be just as dangerous. Wait, Ingress? That's not like... You can Ingress them for first turn. Can you? No, you can't Ingress them for first turn. I don't... Yeah, you can't Ingress them for first turn. So it's like, you can't just Deep Strike into your enemy's army and then just like start shooting things up. I mean, Tau aren't too bad. They do have a lot of indirect fire weaponry. And as a result, if they can push something like Root, Pathfinders, some jump packs of battle suits, you know, up forward, they can use all of those indirect fire missile launchers they have to still do quite a lot of damage. Get within range of the enemy with your fast unit and just hit them with all you've got. Which would work, it makes sense, I guess. Oh no. The blue coding that mark reminds me of a Tachikoma spider tank, some ghost in the shell. Oh. And it kind of is a spider tank. Yeah, I definitely need to solidify this plate. I think once we get highlights and stuff and shading on it, it should look nicer. Yeah, so I didn't get too much painting done today, though. I was not anticipating that today will be the day that they'll introduce the core rule changes. And like an hour before the stream. I never even realised because I wasn't expecting it. So I was just like eating my food and watching one of the 8th edition battle reports. It was Blood Angels versus Orc. And my goodness, I'm not 8th edition, 9th edition battle reports, I think it was actually. And my goodness, I am glad for 10th edition. Every time I watch an 8th edition battle report, 9th edition, sorry, I'm like, yep, I much prefer the current rules, especially for vehicles. Vehicles are just so much better now. Maybe they're a bit too powerful, but I don't think so. I think there's certain armies that I think need a bit of a bonus. Like if you want to go for a few full Phobos army. Land speeders and storm speeders need to be given for Phobos keyword. That's what I think. Or at least the stratagems for the Phobos detachments need to specify land speeders as well. Because they got Phobos guys inside it. Just give them for Phobos keywords. Because if you don't take those units in your Phobos army because you don't have a Phobos keyword, you're just not able to deal with any vehicles or any tough units. Or at least not easily. But I got the last few seals, but unfortunately the eliminators I have only came with bolt rifles. I could need to water this paint down a bit. But it's fine. Are the spider tanks also bone coloured, whether not blue? By the way, if you've not yet watched on the Warhammer TV, the Warhammer Plus thing, remember Warhammer Plus, it's free for the latest 10th edition battle report, 11th edition, sorry, and it's a pretty fun watch. It's Ultramarines and Blood Angels in a single army, literally just using the normal Space Marine rules and not using Blood Angel rules. Versus a army of orcs that are a mixture of goths, death schools, and was it speed freaks as well? I think it might have been speed freaks as well. Pretty cool. I mean, I'm just happy for death school representation, to be honest, though. Like, yeah, deaf schools. Deaf schools are the best schools. I mean, why wouldn't they be? They're in Warhammer. Have you seen how much everyone loves skulls in Warhammer? The Imperium loves skulls. Khorne loves skulls. The Tower numbskulls. Actually, that would be more, appropriate for the kin. Because we all got thick skulls. Just, if we got tough heads. I have an entire event dedicated to schools. Yeah, so the deaf schools are just the best. The best orcs, by default of the name. Also for blue. And also they like to loot everything. They like the archiest arts. They got all the best tech because they loot it all. Unless the bad moons buy all the best tech from them, in which case, you know, the bad moons buy it. And now they have the best tech. Well, then we're rich. And then we could steal the best tech back from them. Except we did sell them that super good thing that can detect sneaky boys. And now we can't steal from them. So maybe we should have sabotaged the steely thing. But then would have damaged our representation. Not representation. Reputation. In bad moons, the spider tanks are coloured mostly blue with some white sections and most metallic parts showing. And some metallic parts showing, sorry. Bad moons of both orcs and goblins variety. Yeah, they are weird. It is funny that there are two bad moons, aren't there? Now, by the way, on the app, the Black Library app, for those who are interested, 66% off or 50% off for ebooks. Dante, Cadia Falls, Hell's Reach, what's it called? One of the Age of Sigmar books. Specifically the Gloomspite gets one. I think it might be called Gloomspite, that's it. Gloomspite. They're all on sale right now. Also, there's a Emperor's Children book. I can't remember what it's called. And there's another book. There's another Age of Sigmar book, Realm Lords. A Lumineth Realm Lord book. I'm pretty sure there's another 40k in. Oh yeah, War Boss. Which is an ARC one, obviously, by Mike Brooks. And that's available until the end of the month, all those books. You just reminded me with the bad moons. Because that's what the Gloomspite gets off of the bad moons. Yeah, it's a bit messy. Don't worry about it. Oh gosh, I've completely missed that section. Don't worry about it. Nothing some skeleton hard won't be able to fix. Again, we're just trying to get some, like, base colour on. And we're only on to 2 of the 4 main colours I'm going to be doing. If I turn that light off. Yeah, the mist parts are a lot less obvious without the light. Every single time I look at it on camera, I'm like, yeah, it's a lot of missed parts I did there. I can't really see them that easily in real life. It doesn't matter too much. The skeleton hard should get into all of those gaps really well. Gloomspite gets still has the best army rule for Bad Moon Horizon, true. Okay, I'm muting for a second. Sorry, just hay fever being bad. Okay, for this person, I'm thinking... It's hard to tell what I want to be bone coloured and what I want to be like gold and what I want to be red. The wires, red. The armour plating, red. It's mainly for gold issues. And not from a magnifying glass if you was wondering what the noise was. The eyes, probably green. Glowy bits, probably green. Inside of a cloth, probably bone. That's probably going to be best black. Edges are going to be gold. Gold. Arms will probably be bony coloured. Probably going to be gold. These bits probably gold. Bone coloured for the arms. Bone coloured. Yeah, it's hard to know what I want to do here. You know what, we'll just get some contrast pile red on them first. I'll probably use one of the smaller brushes. Not base. A layer brush would be nice. Okay, that's a big brush. This one. Is this the layer brush I want? Yeah. That's not the layer brush you're looking for. And this Ushabti bone was not closed properly. So the reason I'm doing her armor plates red when I'm not doing the others red is because she's the tech priest. The tech priests will probably all have red on the armor plates and blue robes. Just to be like for the... Because they're still Martians. They're still from Mars. They still need to show allegiance to it. Not traitors. Well, she's not technically from Mars, but her father would probably does use red. But I did learn that each army, you know, the Skitarii and the units that each tech priest has, does not have to be the same colour as Mars, like the red of Mars, and it doesn't have to even be the same colour as the Forge World. Each tech, like, the Skitarii belong to the tech priest, not to the Forge World. Especially for explorator fleets. So if you have a relatively eccentric tech priest, they might decide, you know, that they don't want the same colour Skitarii as everybody else. They might want to do things their own way. And that's what my tech priest is like. He's a bit of a, you know, he likes being unique. Maybe she's contrarian. Now, I will find that most tech priests aren't that imaginative. And, you know, they don't like going against what they consider the order and the default. So they don't do changes. But not every tech priest is like that. You do find more eccentric ones. You do find ones that are willing to go against the grain. Carl is probably the biggest one. Now the issue is that as soon as tech priests start going against the grain, other tech priests will start using it as an opportunity to try finding, you know, faults with them. Like, why would a tech priest take that as an opportunity? Quite simple. Tech priests are in competition with other tech priests. If a tech priest is like, hey, I want your job, but first you need to go away for me to take your job. I would be promoted if it wasn't somebody directly above me who is better than me in every single way. Or sometimes it's just like, you have a lot of stuff and I want that stuff. If I can get, you know, the other tech beast to declare you hereticus or to excommunicate you. And tech beasts are not even above assassination and spying on one another and stuff like that, so should always be careful with them. My tech beast certainly isn't. That's how she got like half of her stuff. Spying. Stealing. Is zoned out. I'm talking about tech beasts and how they behave.
What are we talking about? I zoned out.
We're talking about tech beasts. There you go. Yeah. Slowly but surely. This is coming together. Oh, that's a big old blue part that I missed there. I have to be careful moving this model around because those bits aren't the most secure where they are. Not for worse, but it's certainly not for best in terms of stability. Ooh. There we go. Yeah, as I've said every stream, I can definitely see why people would prefer to paint mechanicus models sub-assembly and complain about mechanicus models. It's not even all the details on them, which is annoying. It's just trying to get to all of the parts of them. And loads of more parts there. I missed blue. I wasn't even sure that they were blue, to be fair. It's definitely right to use red or gold. There we go. I think for wires, I'll paint using Mephiston red, so not a contrast colour, because it's going to be easier just to do that. Not going to give the same coverage. I might need to go Mephiston over them, but it's going to have less errors being made when painting. Because while it's easy to control the flow of contrast paint, that's mostly terms of like trying to get coverage and stuff. Okay, there we go. So that part's painted. And just coming together. I think before tomorrow's stream, I'm going to need to wash these brushes. I have to do it this evening, so that will be ready for today's stream. After washing them, I want to give them 24 hours. Amount of good few hours anyway. There we go. Okay, just the front part now. She doesn't look too bad with the red next to the blue. Trying to get off a gold on them will be difficult. I'll probably have to be forever going back between painting gold and then having to correct what I accidentally made. I accidentally painted onto the
Spider-Man colours.
Spider-Man, kind of. Yeah, Spider-Man is red and blue, isn't he? For some reason in my head when I was thinking red and black. But no, it's going to be red. The four colours I'm using: red, bone, blue, and gold. But actually it goes, blue is going to be the primary colour. Bone secondary. For most of the models is going to go this way. Then gold, and then red. So if she's like first blue, then red, then gold, then bone. In terms of prominence of each colour. Yep, the red does not paint over the blue very well, as was suspected. I'll just have to get some Mephiston red there. Is that just some wire? That is just some wire. There we go. I wonder if they're going to release the new updates to everyone's rules and stuff before the orders go up. And like points values and stuff. Now imagine what they'll do. They'll release the new points update and the new data sheets, but they'll release them as new 40k first. So that you can still use the old ones until, and they'll probably keep it separate until the 11th edition finally releases in another 3 weeks. Okay, that's enough for today. And I think the models are slowly coming together. Again, it's still messy, but as we do each colour, it's going to get slightly less messy than once we're doing the shades, the highlighting, and then the correcting. It's all going to form into hopefully something that looks good in the end. Ooh, I think I did have a little bit. No, never mind. Never mind. I thought I had like some purple on there, and it was just the shadows playing some tricks on me. Okay, but that's it for today, I think. Thank you for coming to the stream. I hope you have a good rest of your day. We're going to be streaming again tomorrow, and hopefully tomorrow we'll actually get some good painting done. We'll probably move on to trying to paint the gold and stuff, maybe. So yeah, I think the gold would be the best colour to do next on all the models. So thank you for coming to the stream. I hope you have a good rest of your day. Remember to work hard but play harder. Don't forget to like the stream. Take care of yourself. Be kind to others and vice versa. And also, actually, big love hearts to you all. Take care of yourselves. Oh gosh, my hands are a mess. Take care of yourselves. I already said that one. Eat good food, sleep well, dream of cupcakes, but don't eat the cupcakes. They're feds, not food. Goodbye, everyone. Bye-bye. Smash.